Hello, and for today's river walk we are on the north bank of the Orwell, just below the Orwell Bridge. This is the stretch that runs from Ipswich down to Felixstowe and Harwich, and it's a designated area of outstanding natural beauty. And we've got a bit of a walk through the forest, through the woods here before we get to the river. There's some fantastic old trees in this woods, including a very well-known 300 or 400-year-old oak. And that one's no spring chicken either. Sadly, it appears to be dead. Oh no, there's new growth on it. That one's definitely dead though. But it's early spring. What are we in? Late March, 20-something of March. Oh. And I've just realised I've gone the wrong way. What I actually needed to do was get down there. So I need to go back down here, follow the track down and turn left. What could possibly have gone more wrong than it already did? This is not my normal route down to the river. I've not been here for a while, but I can see the river in front of us. I'm just hoping there is a path here through this farmland. It looks like we'll just curl around to the left, past that big barn, and we'll be on the bank. There's the Orwell Bridge through the trees there. We'll be away from this traffic noise soon enough. And the tide is about an hour and a half after high water, so it's falling, so we'll be able to walk down the bank. When I came over the bridge an hour and a half ago, it was at high water and you couldn't, the tide was right up to the forest bank, so you couldn't walk. But we'll be alright now. Now then, which way? Probably this way, so as to avoid that house over there. It's a bit soft underfoot, not too bad. And there are boats out on the river already. Oh look, how lovely, a poo bag. Hate it when people do that. Don't have a dog if you're not prepared to take responsibility for what it does. Look at what these banks are in this field. Clearly man-made. I'm not going to hop over that, we'll go around the long way. Okay, the river's there. There appears to be a footpath here, people on it. So I shall dutifully head towards the path, avoiding impaling myself or standing on that barbed wire. There we go. Proper path. Personally, I prefer to be off the path, but just in case there's any problem with that being on that land, I'll get on the path. And this will take us down onto the bank. And this is one of the most beautiful river walks that I know. As I say, the tide's going out. we can walk along the foreshore, and as we get further down, we have this wonderful bank where the trees are gradually falling into the river. And it being Sunday, there's a lot of people out. You can walk for miles down this shore, all the way down to the marina, further down the river. A mate of mine keeps his self-built catamaran. Well, I was down here one year and the tide was just coming in, and out here in the flats it was a very calm day, and I could see all this disturbance in the water, and it was a shoal of what I think a mullet, and they were in water that was barely deep enough for them to swim, and they were thrashing their tails around in the mud to stir it up and eating all the little critters that came out of it. And I wondered if it was a cooperative effort, if they disturbed the mud for each other, but there was no way of finding that out at all. You can see how soft the banks are here, so every really big tide just washes away more of the bank, and the trees gradually sort of migrate down the slope. And as you can see ahead, there's some quite large trees make their way into the water here. There's an attempt to shore the bank up, but the sea always wins. Probably won't be there next year. Look, the sea has already taken one of the retaining posts away. Give it a year, a few high tides, a couple of storms. Look at how house that is. Woof. Can you make a noise like a badger? What noise do badgers make? Oh look. Spring. There we are, there's a veteran of the ongoing war between the river and the woods. And the river is gradually sculpted away with the help of a few kids setting fires, I guess. You can see how it undercuts the trees, exposes all the roots. Sooner or later they'll start to tilt if they lose their grip on the roots, and then all the earth will be washed away from around the roots and they start to tip over. But they keep on growing. Look, there's fresh buds on this one. They just keep on growing, and their blind need to grow, their unthinking compulsion. Look at the gorse, lovely. It smells of coconut, of course. I've never quite understood why, but it does. That one's going to make a noise when it goes, and I'm not going to be underneath it, hopefully. I don't know how that's clinging on. The amount of weight in that tree, it's just holding on there. Hello mate, woof woof.
Hello, alright?
Yeah, I speak the language, it's alright.
Sorry?
I speak the language, it's alright.
Yeah, that was very good. It's like Newcastle Frank to them.
No, I'm from Kent, me. That would be like Woof Woof Lake. Maybe I'm right underneath this one. And this is where I normally come down to the river, in the woods. We'll go back up that way. Or we'll go back up further down and try and find the ancient oak. It's a pleasantly wild wood, not overmanaged, so one of the forestry guys told me a couple of years ago that they're cutting down the conifers that were planted in the 1940s, 50s and 60s in English woodlands all over the country, and they are basically so well adapted that they squeeze out all the native trees. So all the oaks, the hornbeams, beeches, etc., ash, mind you there's ash dieback, so that was going anyway, all just got squeezed out by the conifers, and they're trying to restore the native woodland by removing the conifers. Look at this has just been recently cut. It's still growing. It gets a regular washing by the river, but the water's salt up here because it's tidal up here. I love the wildness of this. There's good fishing in this river too. Mullet, although they're incredibly hard to catch, but I've been watching videos of a guy in London who fly fishes for mullet, so I might attempt that in the summer. I need a very calm day, but there's plenty of room here for a back cast. Just wade out a few feet on a falling tide, or actually probably better on a rising tide, but keep looking behind you and cast out over these shallows. And there's good bass fishing in the summer, but it's a little far for me to bring my little boat up, sadly, unless I put it on a trailer, but I don't know where I'd launch it. I think there might be a public slipway up by the bridge. This big commercial boat coming out of Ipswich, picking its way through the small boat moorings down the channel. That looks like the remnants of a dry robe. I'm not going to investigate it too closely. And this is just total slippage. But this tree is still growing. It will not give up. So yeah, I think a big fly rod and a pair of waders in the summer is going to be worth a trip. Lovely sandy beach to walk on along here. Very pleasant. See the channel buoys out there. The red one marks the left-hand side of the road as you're going into harbour. The green one marks the right-hand side of the road as you're going into the harbour. And he's successfully negotiated that little stretch of moorings. So there's the next pair of green and reds down there. There's a yacht coming up against the tide. There's a place further down the bank, I don't think we'll have time to get there today, where there's what looks like an old waterworks set back off the river. And whenever I've been there in the summer, I've seen mullet just cruising about under the tree on the entrance channel to it, because it's very calm water, but they undoubtedly find things to eat there. See big, well over a foot long mullet just cruising about, and I've cast a fly at them, I've put a spinner in the water, I've put a bit of bread on a hook. They've completely ignored it, but we shall see one of these days. I think that marina we can see ahead on the opposite bank is Pin Mill, and it's the location for a regular annual Thames barge match. And my Google Maps shows ancient famous oak tree. Just up there, so we'll catch that on the way back. No, that's Wolverston Marina apparently, my bad. Okay, we're past the dramatic bit of the bank. This becomes increasingly difficult to navigate on foot because there's a lot of inlets and quick sandy bits, and I'm not really shod for wet terrain. But we'll just poke our heads around the corner and then probably come back through the forest. I commend this to you. On a nice summer's day, this is a fabulous walk. You can go all the way down, around that next headland there, just keep going, all the way along the bank. But check the tides. You can see this is high water mark, and that's just at really quite low. These are neap tides on a spring tide. Be cut off here, so check the tides. bend of the river. Right, if I go that way, I'm in marshland. If I head up here, I can get to that little wooden footbridge and hopefully keep my feet dry. I think. Most of these plants here, a lot of them are edible. My eldest daughter has a couple of friends who are fairly high-level chefs. He used to come up to places like this and collect these plants and then make high-level chef dishes out of them, and they were delicious. Oh, that wouldn't have been too bad. Would have brought me up on the other side bridge there. As it is, I don't even want to know what this is spread across the ground here. Probably best not to ask. Bearing in mind we seem to live in a country in which it's deemed perfectly okay to allow raw sewage to be dumped in the rivers. Oh, a little bit of politics there, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Ben Elton. Good night. Oh, and there appears to be a whack-fuck course there for people that enjoy playing whack-fuck. Yeah, I'm not going to get across that. I should have gone that way, but it looks really muddy, and anyway I'm going to go back through the woods. So there's a little bit of leaping required here and some careful judgment of where to place the feet. That's good, that's good, that's good. A conveniently placed log to accelerate off, and we're across. Lovely. Some little shrine to someone or something. Maybe a dog or something, I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the woods. If we go back up this way and follow the bank back up through the woods, we'll get to the ancient oak. So let's do that. You don't have a choice. It's my GoPro and I'll go where I want to. Oh good, another poo bag. Disgusting. Yeah, look at all these birch or larch or whatever they are, birch aren't they, that have sprung up now that the pine trees have been, you can see the pines behind them, they've been gradually cut back and the native species are reasserting themselves. Apparently silver birch is a pioneer species. It grows very quickly and migrates very quickly. Disclaimer, I am not a professional botanist or arborist. I'm just repeating something I read somewhere in a book about trees. No, I don't think we have termites in the UK, but some things basically felled this. That's certainly not a chainsaw cut, neither is it axe blows. Something got in there and ate this tree until it fell over or was blown over in a strong wind. The undergrowth is extremely thick. I'm not even going to attempt to get off the path, which I normally would. I won't. Lovely, all these little, what are they, wooden enemies? Anemones or something. Do we get up the hill or along the bank? Those of you that have seen my blogs before will know that if in doubt, I don't go up the hill. Hiya.
Hello.
Woof. Having said that, let's go this way. What's a bumblebee? He's out early. Should have brought my little pruning saw. There's a hazel tree up there with what looks like a dozen walking sticks waiting to be cut. But I suspect there's some kind of constraint in this woods against random cutting, but it's what has traditionally been done to actually help the hazel trees grow and not overrun themselves, because that one, if left untended, will eventually choke itself with growth. It's possibly getting a little late in the year to start coppicing them though. I think you need to do it in the dead of winter when they're not growing, but they will have just started bursting into growth right now. Look at this. I think it's got new growth on it. It's absolutely extraordinary. Or is that another tree growing around it? No, I think it's all part of the same tree. I think. That central core died, probably blasted by lightning or something. Or diseased or something. Right, now that's too steep for me. We'll pass on that one. Let's go down here. Follow along. And we will get to the ancient oak soon enough. Just enough of a north wind to be chilly. The air temperature's not bad, but I'm glad of my furry-eared hat. Yeah, these trees are very old. Look at that. This is actually a good time of year to come here because the undergrowth is not yet thick enough to make it impossible to see the forest that lies beneath it. Look at all these, that's walking sticks in 2 or 3 years' time. But there are so many bits of forest and woodland that I come across that nobody manages anymore. They're simply left to run wild. And that's okay to a degree. But if you look at this one, all the what they call the water shoots, the really thin little shoots, are all taking goodness, nutrients and energy from the main bit of the tree, and they've traditionally been cut off to allow the centre of the tree to grow and remain healthy, and they were used for making fencing, all kinds of panels, in some cases even the walls of houses, because they're very pliable, they're very long lasting, and they grow pretty much dead straight unless influenced by some external force. Right, I'm going to consult Google Maps. We must be getting close to the tree. Okay, the good news is it's really close. The bad news is it's up this hill. This appears to be a path. We need to go slightly back on ourselves. Look, some primroses on the bank there. Lovely spring. Sod's law decrees that it's up there, so I think, let's have a look. Yes, it's up to our left. I'm not going to attempt that. It would be foolhardy. I'm 66, you know. However, if this is not doable, there's a path along there. Yeah, come on, let's take it on. Should have bought a walking stick. Yep. Final assault on the summit, and there we are. Oh, there's going to be bluebells here, and there it is. So up here and turn right. And having a hard won this elevation, I'm not going to go back down. We'll go back through the woods. See, in a few months' time, a few weeks in fact, the brambles will render this impassable. And I don't mean impossible with an American accent. I mean impassable. There it is. Wow. There's new growth on it. What a fine thing. Look at that. Some ignorant twats carved it. Don't worry, old fella. They're only kids. You'll outlast them. And then some. Truly wonderful tree. That is wood turner's gold. That and the bit below it, it's called a burl. It's where the tree got diseased, and if you slice that off, you find the most complicated grain patterns you can imagine. There's more up here. But I'm not going to come up here with a handsaw late at night. There's another one behind us, look over there. It's kind of on our way home, so let's kind of go there. Not quite as old, but nonetheless impressive. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to go more northerly actually and go out at the top of the woods, and then we can make our way back down to the car park where I left the motorhome rather than have to climb up more hills. Though from memory there is one valley along here that I will need to negotiate, but it's got a good path. You can see how the conifers just totally overran the place. I don't know why they were so keen on planting conifers in the 60s, 50s, 40s, whenever it was. If anybody knows, please enlighten us in the comments below. It's typical conifer territory with bracken and brambles as an undergrowth covering the forest floor. Right, that's the valley that I would normally go along the next path along, go down and up the other side, but I think we'll get away with it if we go this way. And the battery is starting to run down, so I'll save it for anything interesting we come across, though to me this is interesting. Now we got some information here. The area was once ancient broadleaf woodland but was removed during the Second War to grow fast-growing Corsican pine to meet the need for timber. However, many of these trees were not harvested and the area was left as plantation. Most importantly, the seed bank of the ancient woodland plants is still in the soil. So in collaboration with Volker Fitzpatrick and the Greenways Countryside Project, we are removing the conifers over the next 5 years and planting native broadleaf trees. There we are. Now we know. Nice of them to inform us. And that's the way I normally go down to the woods, out to the river, down this path here. But for whatever reason, because I've not been here for a while and because my brain has turned to mush, I didn't come up this far. In fact, I almost got it. I think this was just about where I turned back, where these old trees are. Well, I say where these old trees are, there's old trees all over the place. There we go, an example of the use of the new growth. Look at the bluebells, it's going to be spectacular in a few weeks' time. Right, so all we've got to do is walk down the hill and into the car park where I left the motorhome. I'm not over impressed with the basic battery that comes with the GoPro. It was 100% charged when I started filming today. According to the space that shows how much is left in the SD card, I've done about an hour's worth of filming and the battery is down to 33%. I should be able to get more than an hour out of the battery. However, we won't let a miner moan spoil the day, will we? A miner mine. I must stop mining. There we go. Here's the motorhome. Right. There we are.